All right, bitches. Little disappointing news. Jeff Huffman fucked up. Jake fucking left a voice message to me that he wasn't going to make it. Jeff, what should I call you? The dope Huffman. The dope.
Hey, at least I'm putting the effort out there, unlike some people who play defense for the Blues. I'm putting the effort out there.
Yeah. Well, we'll explain this in a second. First of all, I'm going to have to explain what happened. We had a miscommunication. We were supposed to get a former Blues enforcer's Reed Lowe, which was very exciting to me. And he did agree to it. And I saw it on Twitter. Jeff got him. He still lives in St. Louis to this day. He's got 3 kids. But Jeff didn't specify whether he was starting with us. So we thought it was going to be like Dave Schneider of the Zambonis. So, because I have to, here's what everybody doesn't seem to get, and the whole fucking team. I have to start a title, right, that has to do with what we open with, right? That's why I've shortened the intro over the years. I've done a lot of other stuff. Otherwise, it's misleading. Now, they can call me clickbait all they want. But as long as I'm talking about what the fuck's in the title, I'm okay. But Huffman got this guy to say yes. He probably thinks we're some professional thing, not a bunch of dopes on YouTube. And he's like, yeah, I'll call him when I call him.
No, I specified it was a YouTube show.
Oh, we're dopes on YouTube? But he probably doesn't. He probably thinks it's a fucking podcast. He doesn't know it's live. So he may call in. He may not call in. But we'd be happy to take your calls. Actually, no, we're not taking your calls. Not yet. We're going to... Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the Caps and the Flyers that just took place because I have to. I didn't want to, but now I have to. How much sense did it make to stick with, where did you go?
I closed my door.
Did Reed stop by?
No, I closed my door.
Okay. How much sense did it make to put Neuwirth in, they finally got around to what, in Game 3 to put him in?
Yeah, we've only been calling for that all year.
Game four. Who was saying it? You were too. Who was saying from the very beginning? Now, I do realize that Steve Mason, if he wasn't in, they're not going to playoffs. It's very simple. He dragged them into the playoffs. But it was very clear after Game 2 that this wasn't a good thing. Now, I have to erase that one thing with the guy on it. I don't want to get misleading posts. By the way, I have changed the title, right? This is live. I can't do anything about it. I apologize.
Hey, I got 57 things to do. I thought I was putting something together.
You did. I appreciate the effort, but you still got to do it right. Otherwise, we're putting the channel in danger. I have a lot of people that hate my guts, and they would love to get me shut down. They would absolutely enjoy it. So I do appreciate the effort. It was unfortunate that I couldn't get in touch with them first to let them know what's going on. But you have to let them know. Are we in the beginning? It's like he's gonna call sometime during the show. Okay, fine. Then I just put a normal title on. What's up, chat? Bama Fox, Chris, Frenchie, Ben, Bray Bobs. Thank you, Carl Gibney. I always think of that guy in the Scientology movie when I see that name. All right. Though I do apologize if Reed calls in. We got questions to rock and roll with, and it's been a tough day, Sean. We got questions to roll with, yes, and the things. So I really don't understand why Haxel, who I think has done a spectacular job with this team, probably overachieved even by making the playoffs, didn't put in. Honestly, when Mason had problems early in the season, he had some personal issues. There was your chance.
There you go.
And he played well. Neuwirth. I mean, we're talking about a guy that played well on that Buffalo Sabres team last year. which is one of the reasons he got traded. We're talking about that kind of guy. So I think he's good. I don't know. How old is this kid, Neuwirth, if he's even a kid?
Neuwirth? I thought he was in his
Late 20s, right?
20s. Yeah. I thought he was like 28 or something. Watch me be totally off.
Check that out. Check on that one. So I don't understand why they haven't got this guy. Steve Mason's not the guy. He's a nice guy. He's a good guy, and he's a solid goalie. But really, in the National Hockey League, in my thing, he's a serviceable backup. I don't see why that was such a great move. That being said,
he's 28.
28. 28. So goalies sometimes develop late. Hashtag Tim Thomas. So I got to be honest with you. Haxel should have ran with this guy as soon as Steve Mason had problems, instead of sharing goalies. If you want to talk about the 92 Van Beesbrook, Mike Richter catastrophe after winning the President's Trophy, you just got to go with one guy and ride him out. How do you go with Steve Mason to Game 3? I mean, they even they put a Mazarek in Detroit after Howard got lit up, and Howard started playing well. He deserved to start in the playoffs towards the end. Mazarek might have had a better season. So I just don't get it.
How can you let Mason start Game 3, especially after that goal he let up in Game 2?
Yeah. You don't want to kill his confidence? Well, this is the playoffs.
Whatever confidence he had was killed right there on that goal.
It's one of the worst goals I've ever seen, and it was some fundamental goalie stuff. I mean, you keep the stick down the whole time. I mean, look, anybody can make a mistake. I get that. You know, I'm not going to sit there and trash him like with Bowmister, but we'll get to that in a minute. No, I do think he was a better goalie, and that the Philly, you won a game and they stole a game. They had 11 shots on goal and managed to beat the powerful Capitals,
who had 44 shots on goal, and one of the shots for the Flyers was an empty net.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. Now, I've said this before. You don't want to go deep, especially with bad teams. I think this series says more about the Capitals' weakness going forward than it says about the Flyers. The Flyers are a team that backed into the playoffs. I think for the most part, other than the embarrassing fan actions a couple nights ago, I won't get into that. I think the Flyers fans and the Flyers organization actually have a lot to be proud of.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of pieces here. There's a lot of good stuff. I dig it. But switching to the Capitals, you should have blown these guys out the fucking window. And the fact that we've seen that the Caps have a little trouble having putting the finishing move on, they're going to have their hands full with Pittsburgh. And I'm telling you right now, Pittsburgh's going to run over them. Might go 6, might go 7, but Pittsburgh's going to win. Pittsburgh's going to win.
Washington plays like they did against Philly, they got no chance.
There's no chance. And we're talking about, there's a handful of guys on that Pittsburgh team that know how to put the killing blow in and hold up the cup. There's nobody except for Justin Williams, I think.
Game 7, yeah.
Yeah, that's really can put that killing blow in for Washington. So I got to be honest with you, the way Pittsburgh played, hats off. That was amazing. And that's what you do. You crush your opponent. And if you have a situation like a Game 2, you bounce back. I'm sorry. I think the Crosby-Ovechkin 10-year after-the-fact matchup is going to show that Crosby's better than two players. And I don't want that. I'm no big Crosby guy. But I was very impressed with what I saw, and I was really impressed with what Phil Kessel did. I think they got their hands full. They got more.
Yeah, they definitely do. Like I just said, if Washington plays like they did against Philly, they got absolutely no chance because Pittsburgh is firing on all cylinders right now.
You take
and
your
we've seen, especially late in the season, Pittsburgh really got under Washington's skin.
Yeah. You mean Philadelphia got under Washington's skin?
No, Pittsburgh, when they played them in the regular season.
Oh, they played in the regular season. Yeah. Well,
they just tore them apart.
I don't think that, the Ovechkin-Crosby generation rivalry is lost on either of the two the stars that are involved in it. So it was. I think Washington's got some problems ahead of them. I think they're in for a rude awakening. You could take that President's Trophy, set it on fire, because none of that means anything now. And in a lot of cases, I don't think that the Capitals are in playoff form. Clearly, the Pittsburgh Penguins are. Clearly, the Pittsburgh Penguins are in playoff form. They played great. I'm not going to even. I mean, I guess I could go bash the Rangers. And the only thing I'm really mad about with the Rangers, I'm not really mad because we got beat by a better team. It's
right.
that simple. That we got beat by a better team. You sit there and blame Hank all you like, giving up odd man rushes, 2-on-1s, breakaways, and a goalie on the planet's going to stop that. Crosby played great. Phil Kessel played great. Yevgeny Malkin started to put together. Chris Letang played great. The guys that filled the defensive roles, the biggest hole in the Pittsburgh plan. Sullivan has done this tremendous job. This team was always a hair off the Stanley Cup. Always hair's ass. What am I talking about? I had a rough day. Off the Stanley Cup, but if they're playing defense, blocking shots, yeah, that's just gonna be very frightening, and I expect a lot. What do you got?
You may be ready.
Maybe ready? Put them on.
Yep.
I'll cut this out. I'll put a separate.
Well,
thing later.
keep going. All
right.
Keep going.
That's the way things. So anyway, Jeff's on the phone right now. Jeff the Dope Huffman. He did promise me, Mr. Reedlow, former enforcer for the NHL. So we're going to get an opportunity to talk to a real live NHL enforcer, the first NHL player that would ever be on any of the Shot from the Point shows, which is normally we do this is an Anything Goes podcast, but you guys are tuned in for the hockey. So I think it would be really great. I got some pretty good questions lined up. And Jeff, any news?
Well, we'll find out how I'm doing after tomorrow night's game.
No, about Reed, you dope.
Oh, no, like you were saying, he's a former NHL enforcer.
Is he coming on, Jeff?
I'm getting to that.
Okay, just do it. All right, go ahead.
I'm getting to that. No, he asked if he's going to call now, and I told him ready when you are.
Oh, that's what I want to hear right away. We'll introduce him. And he has the record for the most penalty minutes in a period. Is that it? Let's make sure we get that right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Tough dude. Hey, by the way, Frenchie Ben, this is going to make you feel good. He's born in 1976, just like us. It's going to make you feel real good. And we're probably going to take your call. We're going to ask Reed a few questions. We're going to take your calls. Then we'll talk about the other playoff series. And I think a lot of the questions that I ask him are going to lead into, really, why can't teams like the Capitals or even the Nashville Predators put the finishing blows on some of these guys, the finishing blows on the other team? We're also going to talk about how he feels fighting plays a role in the NHL, how he feels about concussions and the way the NHL treats them, and if he is kind enough. Maybe we'll let you guys call in. Act stupid. I'm gonna hang up on you, and then maybe we'll cut this in half if it gets a pretty good interview, and then we will not forget because I plan to make fun of. I just wanted somebody to call in so I could goof on Jeff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so we're working on this. Of course,
another series that's looking a lot like Washington and Philly. It reminds me a lot of that series. Is Dallas and Minnesota. I thought Dallas was going to blow Minnesota out of the water.
Here we go. 636.
Oh, yep.
That's
it.
I got to take care of this. I got to switch because I don't want to reveal his phone number. That's the last thing I need to do. Yep. Mr. Reed Lowe, are you on the air?
This is me, yep.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? How are you? Welcome to the program. Jeff lives in St. Louis, and he's our co-host over here. And we were we're just really thrilled. Congratulations. We're a little YouTube show, and you are the first NHLer to ever set foot on our ice. So welcome to the program. I appreciate you being on.
Thank you.
Hey, not a problem. I enjoy having some fun with it.
Reed, I want to ask you some questions about fighting and the role it plays in the current National Hockey League. How do you feel about it as far as, being somebody that participated in that? And do you think it has much value in today's game?
I don't think that they have shown the value that it truly has, and the NHL itself has done a great job of depicting the role of the tough guy and the enforcer as extremely barbaric and something that is bad for the game, which is the complete opposite of what it truly is. When you take a look at the NHL enforcer, the true guy behind, let's call it the mask, or that front that he plays on the ice, where it's an intimidator, it's a protector. It's somebody that's usually missing teeth and had some broken fingers and is fairly rough around the edges. What they really don't know when you truly get behind the scenes, they're usually the best teammates. They're usually the first guy to the charity event. They're the last guy to leave. And my personal experience on it, and I know that I have friends that do the role as well. I have such a huge, and I will say more of an appreciation level for the National Hockey League career that I had than most guys that are just skilled and are the best players moving up the ranks. Because if I didn't have that in the NHL enforcer, if I didn't have that toughness level, if I didn't have the fighting skills, if I didn't have the balls to go out and protect my teammates and put my face and my body on the line every night, and I'm basically the only legal bare knuckle fighting in the world, then I would never have had an NHL hockey career. And it was based on I had to work extremely hard to get the ice time I did. When I was in junior hockey, I was a big guy that wasn't a very good scorer, but I had decent hands. That was how they targeted me. And, I needed to learn how to fight. I needed to learn how to protect my teammates in order to pursue a career in the National Hockey League. So for me, I really feel that my appreciation level of it is probably more than anybody else, because I wouldn't have had it if it wasn't for that role.
You seem like guys, you have absolutely no regrets considering some of the new science that's out there. You have. Are you concerned about what health risks? Because me and you are the same age. Are you concerned about what health risks you're going to have in the future?
I could get cancer in the future, right?
Yeah,
I could get
absolutely.
hit by a car tomorrow. No, I'm not worried about the future. The future is in the hands of whatever's out there. It's not something that I stress out about. I'm the type of guy that lives for today and plans for tomorrow. I left the game after 10 years pro. When I did fight, I wasn't a big haymaker guy that took a lot of punches. I was more of a grappling heavyweight that tried to tire a guy out and win my fights in the second half with good endurance. And so I didn't take a lot of mean shots. Does that mean I didn't have any concussions? Of course I did. I had some concussions. Hold on.
Sure. You're a professional fighter. I assumed you. As far as the new science with concussions and we know more about long-term damage than we did 10 years ago. But it wasn't a secret when you played in the early 2000s that this was a dangerous profession. I don't think, were you or any other players under that delusion that it wasn't a dangerous profession?
I didn't look at it like that. I didn't think about it. It wasn't what I was doing. I was out there to play hockey. I was out there to pursue my role with everything I had. I could have got hit from behind and been paralyzed. I could have broke my arm with a slash. I could have took a puck in the eye and lost my vision. I don't look at our role as any different or anything else out there. There's all kinds of risks when you sign a National Hockey League contract, just like there is in baseball, football, and every other sport. So, no, I don't look at it like our role is any more dangerous than any other role that's out there. In fact, in more senses than not, we probably are safer on the ice than anybody because nobody wants to come near us.
That's a very good point. By the way, we agree with you 100%. Where you're preaching to the choir, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. By the way, we're very much pro-enforcer over here, but I want to hear it from you. You said before that you think the NHL is portraying enforcers with the guys with a few loose screws. somebody that's kind of lives on the edge. You don't. I mean, you're a family man. You seem to have a very nice life in St. Louis. I never got that impression that the NHL is doing it, but I certainly got that impression that the modern hockey media has that feeling, and maybe even a negative feeling towards enforcers in general. How much? Let's see if I can phrase this correctly. How much? How much influence do you think the current hockey media has on the NHL? And do you think that the current hockey media has your best interest? Because they would always frame it like we're doing these guys a favor by protecting them. See, I'm getting lost I'm getting a little lost here. How do you view how they're portrayed? I apologize.
I think I got the gist of your question.
Yeah.
And for me, I think when I take a look at what the media does compared to the NHL,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they work hand in hand with what they want to try and get the probably your fair weather fan to believe. You know, when you talk about, especially St. Louis with Kelly Chase, Tony Twist, Bobby Gassoff, those Basil McRae, Todd Ewan, you know, the list is endless. DJ King, Cam Jansen, Ryan Reeves now. And when you look at the history of enforcers in the St. Louis Blues and in the National Hockey League, is the fans, the diehard, they understand it. They're the ones at the charity event. They get it. I think the NHL tries to spin something towards that fair weather fan to try and turn them away and say, oh, you don't want your kids to watch two guys fight because it's bad. And a lot of times it isn't bad. I understand where they're coming from, but I ask them this question. How many concussions did Wayne Gretzky get?
I'm sure more than
Sidney Crosby is the face of the National Hockey League, or at least they were trying their ass off several years ago to make him the face of the National Hockey League, and he's one of the best players in the game today, and probably will go down as one of the top 50 players ever to play in the game without question. But he's had two significant bouts on the injured reserve list for bad concussions from taking cheap shots, and that's a direct correlation to the instigator rule and how it's allowed a guy like Rafi Torres and Andrew Shaw to go out and have no accountability at all on the ice. These guys go out and they act like complete buffoons. And that's the problem that I have, is that they spin that as if it's the tough guy that's that guy, but really it's those guys that have no courage, they're gutless, and all they do is run around and act like complete morons. Rafi Torres is probably one of the worst. That hit a couple of years ago on Hossa in the neutral zone was disgusting, and he should have to pay for that. And if he had that thought in the back of his head that Rigo or Ryan Reeves or somebody was coming to take his head off and it was in the rules, I swear to you that boy would not do that. I absolutely guarantee it. And I'm not saying that because I'm smart. I'm saying it because I watched it in the 90s, and I watched it in the early 2000s, and I watched it in the 80s when I was a hockey fan in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada. That's a fact. I'm not telling a story of something that isn't true. We watched it already. Then they brought the instigator rule in because they were worried about it. How many times did you see Bob Probert grab the best player on the other team and beat the crap out of him?
Almost never.
Never.
Yeah. Never.
So I don't understand where the problem lies with the enforcer role. Really, what's happened is they've allowed this pesky little pissant, for lack of a better term, to come into the National Hockey League and basically decrease scoring, slow the game down, allow everybody to not have accountability. And then on top of it, when I was first playing in the NHL and over my 5 years in the NHL, I would have the coach, when we got up 3 goals, tell me not to fight. Well, I look at that differently. I think that you need to go on and you need to protect that lead when the other team challenges you. If we're already up 3-0 and there's 8 minutes left in the first period and their tough guy comes and challenges me and I beat him in the fight, now we've just put a nail in the coffin. And we're going to probably skate through the rest of the game, and they're just going to accept defeat because the toughest guy in their team just got beat up. I just have a completely different mentality about the game and how it works and how it is today. And I just know that if the instigator rule wasn't around, the concussions would be gone. And I just know it.
You're probably right. One thing I want to point out.
If I could jump in real quick on that.
Sure, Jeff.
No, I just want to say, like, they talk about taking fighting out of the game. You don't allow the players to police themselves, and if the players aren't allowed to police themselves, you're going to get a much more Duncan Keith situation, slashing people in the face. He's just going to keep doing it because he knows he's not going to have any accountability for it.
I'd like to point out one more thing. I live in Germany, so I get a chance to watch a lot of these European leagues where they don't. They have automatic ejection and sometimes a game suspension after that for any kind of player dropping the gloves. It still happens from time to time, and sometimes the refs let it slide depending on the league. But you're pretty much going to have the rest of the game off and the next game to boot. The amount of serious paralyzing injuries. I mean, when's the last time we saw somebody get paralyzed in the National Hockey League? It's certainly not. I was born in 1976, not in my lifetime. Every 2 or 3 years over here in Europe, the last incident being the Swiss League, you see serious career-ending, life-changing injuries. Mr. Lowe, do you think there's any correlation between the lack of fighting in these European leagues and the fact that the injuries in Europe seem to be a lot worse and the players aren't as big and they aren't as fast in a lot of cases?
Nobody's enforced to have respect for each other. So there is a calming effect that happened. You watch a hockey game in the 80s or the 90s, or heck, you can go back as far as you want, where the game was starting to get chippy. You know, guys were starting to run each other. Sticks were maybe starting to get up. The two tough guys would come out. They'd fight it out. They'd win the battle for both their teams, and then the game would calm down and get back to hockey. This, again, I'm not saying so. I'm not some rocket science out there that figured this out. I used to watch it as a kid. And today, and over in Europe, they have half shields on. You know, they have Kevlar elbow pads. They put seamless glass in. They did everything they could to try and make the game protected from an outside range. And really, all they had to do was give a kid that would never have a chance to play in the National Hockey League an opportunity to go, that he was willing to sacrifice himself for his team. They had it there. And when that was there, the game was at its best. Gretzky was getting 215 points. Steve Eisenman was getting 155. 150 points in the National Hockey League was nothing. There was 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 guys that had 50-plus goals. We had one this year. One guy got 50 goals. And if he would have got a hat trick in the last game, we'd have none.
No, you're absolutely correct. I wanted to ask you, how happy were you over the John Scott situation and how it got turned around sort of the last minute in his favor? And, talked about the NHL sort of portraying or maybe working with the media to portray the enforcer as some kind of guy that's off or maybe not all there. You see a guy like John Scott, who's an educated guy. He has a degree in has an engineering degree. How happy were you to see sort of the hockey gods come together and sort of punish Gary Bettman?
It was amazing, and I tweeted out about it. That it was, he was basically every enforcer was living vicariously through John Scott, and
I bet.
It couldn't have worked out any better. Guy had a couple, 3 goals in the little miniature games, and ended up getting the MVP. For the first time in a long time, I think people tuned into the All-Star game. And, the tough guys have been a part of the game forever, and sure. I really think they're going to have trouble getting rid of it at all. And I don't think Gary Bettman probably wants to get rid of it at all, because he knows he's got fans that wouldn't show up anymore. But for John to be able to have the opportunity, for them to finally get it right. But, again, along the way, it was just a debacle. Even the NHL not allowing him to wear his Phoenix Coyotes jersey. He's the only guy out of 40 guys on the ice that's wearing his All-Star jersey from the next day in the game. And, and at the end of the day, every time they tried to shine a bad light on it, he looked even better because he had a smile on his face. And again, the appreciation level for that weekend that guy lived is better than any superstar that's ever went to that game.
Did you ever?
Our group never would ever have had a chance.
No, that's true, and I'm glad to hear you guys live vicarious through them. It was really, we were sort of portraying it on our channel here as this is a way to say goodbye to the enforcer because I think they are running it out. One of our users in our chat, it was actually Jeff. He's like, you are seeing guys like, TJ Oshie fighting from time to time. I saw a fight with last year when he was on the Blues with Matt Zuccarello. I mean, do we really want guys like that? Because you are seeing the fighting sort of get spread out a little, and guys that aren't proficient in it are getting in fisticuffs. I can't imagine The NHL wants that. I don't think they want, multi-million-dollar players throwing down in the middle of the ice. What do you think about that, where players that are not considered enforcers, getting in, pretty serious altercations?
I think it's comical when you take a look at Sidney Crosby. He was actually in one the other day too, not so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, it's those guys are forced to get in it because basically the NHL enforcer has had their hands tied.
Sure.
I'm telling you right now, there is multiple times in a game that an NHL coach will tell his enforcer that he can't fight, or hey, don't fight, just go out and play, let him take a penalty. I even had a coach tell me to turtle once. I'm like, are you kidding me? You want me to turtle? Like,
can you tell me who that was? Can you please tell me? Can you tell me who that was who told you to turtle? I gotta ask.
I don't want to call the guy out. It's not a big deal, but at the end of the day, I was in shock. I looked at him like he had 6 heads, and he kind of just put his head down and walked away. So,
was it in the NHL? Please, was it in the NHL?
But yeah, he's in the NHL.
Okay, we can figure it out. So thanks.
Yes. But I think that when you take a look at it, because the fighting is less,
mm-hmm.
there's still a need for it. And when you have a guy like TJ Oshie, who's a great teammate, I know
Sure.
TJ very well. He's an awesome kid. He's going to step in there and he's going to do it. And Sidney Crosby's no different. Like, there's a need for it at times, and when they take that role away from the enforcer, and now they're placing it on the skilled players, which is even putting these guys at jeopardy even more.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And the NHL needs to give their heads a good shake and realize that they need to take that instigator rule out, and injuries will go down and scoring will go up.
Yep. And I think you're absolutely correct. What they're afraid of the guys. Like, I mean, you're talking to 2 guys that grew up with hockey. We get it. I watched Bob Probert growing up. I think what they're trying to do is trying to get the baseball fan, the football fan. I got to be honest with you. I mean, the NHL's grown in the last 10 years. I'm getting to the point where I don't want the game to grow. The people that are in the media nowadays absolutely aggravate me. They seem to have more political agendas than they care what's going on in the game. They're more worried about Patrick Kane's personal life or Evander Kane's personal life than the actual what's going on in the ice. Maybe the game was just as big as it should have been in the 80s and 90s. What do you think of that, or do you want the game to grow, unlike me?
I want the game to grow in a proper channel. I want the game to grow with a hockey fan. Somebody that wants to learn the game, somebody that wants to watch the game live, and somebody that wants to understand the game on television. A lot of our United States fans don't want to put the effort or the understanding together to go and watch the game on TV.
I agree.
Hockey's a very good live sport. You can go watch a hockey game and be excited and enthused without even really knowing a lot of the rules, because of fast skating, big hits, scores, fights, goals, all that kind of stuff. And there's where every other league, there's always going to be some sort of stoppage. Mm-hmm. You could literally go for multiple minutes at a time where, the teams are just changing on the fly, and the game is high flying. So I think that it's a great game when people get to understand it. Mm-hmm. But I think when you take a look at the Canadian fan compared to the American fan, it's a little bit of a different story, which is why you see the game turning itself into a corporation and a corporate fan. Ticket prices are going up.
Sure.
And they're going to those large companies asking them, hey, listen, give us these ridiculous amounts of money for a box or for a suite or for these premium tickets to the Blackhawks Blues game in St. Louis. I know now anyways. I'm pretty sure it's like that around the league. They've gone to premium seating prices for individual ticket sales. So if the Florida Panthers are coming to town, it's a cheaper ticket than if the Blackhawks come to town.
Gotcha.
I like the idea because it gives everybody in that respective city an opportunity to get a game. Even the folks that can't afford it, they can get a cheap ticket against Florida. But the ones that want to pay and go and to the big games, then they got to pay a little bit more to go see the Blackhawks. So I think that they're doing a pretty good job. But again, I agree with you. I really care less what Patrick Kane does in his spare time.
Yeah, but it seems that we hear more about that now than we even hear about the game. They seem to be concussions, and Patrick Kane's personal life seems to be running the hockey news cycle, for lack of a better word. I don't really like who's coming into the game. And I think you're right. If I could defend American fans for a second, I don't think you're talking about guys that grew up in Minnesota or Michigan or in Boston, but I know exactly what you mean. And I think the difficulty is, America's such a big place. Not everybody grows up with two ice skates on their face, like a good old Canadian boy from Moose Jaw. So it is difficult. Whereas you can pick up a football, you can get a soccer ball, you can play baseball, and it's right in front of you. Where you guys grow up, and I have two Canadian guys that work on my channel here. They don't know a world without hockey. I do. I grew up somewhere in between. I grew up in New Jersey. Yeah, some guys played hockey, but not everybody did. And football and baseball ruled the roost. So I think it's a time thing. And I wish the NHL would concentrate more in areas like Minnesota, Michigan, and Boston, and just grow it out rather than putting a team in Arizona where no one's going to get it, or Florida where nobody seems to be getting it unless they're running deep in the playoffs. I think to grow it in the areas where it's already big and outward, but it seems like the NHL, basically since I was a kid, since the San Jose Sharks came into existence, seem to be, trying to spread it, and the Rangers and the Maple Leafs end up footing other teams' bills with revenue sharing. It's very frustrating to me, to be honest with you. I think it's got to be big. Yeah, sir, go ahead.
I think that when you take a look at how to grow the game of hockey, you're going to grow it less through marketing to the people out there, right? The people that have already spent their money on a hockey game compared to being a baseball fan, they're not going to change those people. And I think the St. Louis community, and I'll talk to it for a second because it's the one I know because I live here, Chris Zimmerman, CEO of the St. Louis Blues, and the St. Louis Blues alumni, they're reaching out and trying to get hockey grown at the children's level, at the young kids level. We have a shortage of ice here. St. Louis, I think there's at least 8 or 10 kids that are born and raised and played their minor hockey in St. Louis that are now in the National Hockey League, and I think it was even more a couple of years ago. So, what we want to do to build the game is to grow the young fan and to make hockey a more affordable sport, to go out there and do some fundraising from some of these large corporate companies to allow some kids that might not get an opportunity to play the game of hockey and learn how wonderful it is and learn how to skate and be able to play beer leagues and whatever else that there is when they get older. And that's how we're truly going to grow the game over the next 20 years, is to get the kids today, the 5 and 6 and 7 and 8-year-olds of today, get them involved in the game of hockey, get them on the ice, teach them the rules, teach them how to skate, teach them to love the game like I love the game because of the way I played it. And that's truly how we're going to grow the game in the National Hockey League, and that's what they need to focus on. And the NHL should be hiring ex-NHL hockey players inside the community to help grow the game, to get out on the ice, teach the kids, and that also is going to give guys that maybe wouldn't have an alter job or a high school education or a degree to fall back on like some of the college kids. It would actually give them an opportunity to have a career after hockey as well while growing the game altogether. So that's my opinion on how that should happen.
I would like to see I would like to see it happen. I think the only difficulty is hockey's an expensive game. It is kind of a rich man's game. And that's
$1,000 for a pair of skates these days.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't imagine.
Ridiculous. $250, $300 for a stick. I got two kids that I got a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old and 5-year-old twins. They all play hockey. It costs $4,000 a year to have these kids play hockey.
I know. You could be putting that away for college, But what's more? Well, hockey's way more important. Okay, let's leave the politics a little bit aside in your opinion. The problem is I agree with everything you're saying. But let's talk about you a little bit. Some simpler questions, a little more fun stuff. Toughest fighter. What was the toughest fight you had in the NHL?
George Lorock was my nemesis. He beat my ass a few different times. Every time I got into it, and I just didn't have good luck against him. You see a guy like Sean Thornton that beat George almost every time they fought. And so he was probably the toughest guy that I had problems with. Donald Brashear was extremely tough. Kai Domi, Bob Probert, fought all those guys.
Jeez.
Didn't get a chance to fight Marty McSorley or some of those older guys. They were already gone by the time I got there. But
gotcha.
I fought a handful of real heavyweights.
Because you're the same age as me. I mean, so had McSorley not got suspended towards the end of his career, what would that have been like for you? Me and you are bicentennial kids. What is that like watching Marty McSorley on the Kings and the Oilers, and then knowing that you got to have to fight these guys? I mean, you did fight Probert. I mean, is it any different? You know, do you look at them every different, or do you just go in there and this is just another guy? How do you deal with a celebrity fighter, for that matter?
You know, it was like I was in awe. Right, we're playing the Chicago Blackhawks, and Bob Probert was on at the time when I fought him, and I think it was like my 7th game of the year, and I've been in 6 fights. I was in like 9 or 10 fights. I was in a fight every game for like my first 10 games and my rookie season. And so I've been in 6 or 7 fights already, so I kind of made a name for myself already. And Bob Probert was lined up, and he was calling me on, and I was like, you know, I'm supposed to be coming after you. So that was a little intimidating for me because he's standing there looking at me before they drop the puck, saying, "Oh yeah, young kid, you want to come in the league? You got to go through me," type of thing. So,
oh God,
typical Bobby Probert. You know, and I got to meet him a few times and spend some time with him. And I'll tell you what, you know, it's too bad what he lived through. And you know what, eventually took his life because he, when he was clean and he was just kind of sitting off to the side, he was a very quiet, humble guy that you know, didn't say a whole lot. So again, you know, that's a whole other story in itself. But it was a pleasure and a privilege to get a chance to fight him, and then obviously get to know him a little bit.
Did you get to know? All right. You know, you always hear with NHL enforcers how much, you know, it's nothing personal. You guys will go out and have a beer afterwards. It's no big deal. It's a part of the sport. Is there any fighters you didn't like? Or does that break the code? You can't talk bad about the guy. I don't want you breaking the code.
No, really, like, there really wasn't.
Okay.
You know, the guys I didn't like, you know, were like the Darcy Tuckers and the little rats out there that, you know, ran around cheap shotting everybody and never, you know, stood up because they didn't have to, right? Those are the guys that aggravated the hell out of me, just like everybody hated Tyson Nash. I didn't mind Tyson because, you know, he was my teammate, right? So I got along with him really good, but I probably would have hated him if I was on his team too.
What about Pete? You know, I watched a fight with PJ Stock, who was smaller than me. You won the fight clearly, but boy, what was it like fighting a littler? How do you fight a smaller guy like that can take so many punches from a guy your height and weight?
I'm in a lose-lose situation there. If I beat the hell out of him, I'm supposed to, and if I lose, I lost to the little guy. So they were challenging. They were challenging guys, and especially PJ. I fought PJ a bunch of times in the minor leagues and then a few times in the National Hockey League. And that fight in particular, you know, a lot of people ask me about it just because, you know, I was throwing right and he was throwing left, and we were absolutely just going at it with each other, which was a fun day. Yeah. But that was an afternoon game. I think it was Saturday afternoon, and in Boston Gardens, there's about 10 minutes left in the third period. It's a 2-2 game, and I look over at PJ and I say, "Hey, bud," I go, "you and I both know if this is the end of the night for us." And he's like, "Yeah, no." I'm like, "You want to put a show on for the fans?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we backed off, dropped our gloves, hitched up, and that's how we used to fight. I didn't fight a whole lot of guys like that, but, you know, obviously the bigger guys, but, you know, some of those smaller guys, I would just get into it with them. Ryan Vandenbush, no different. We had a lot of punch in the face contest.
Oh, jeez, it really is. If anybody, it's actually, I think you get a lot of questions because it's if you type your name in, it pops right to the top of YouTube because it's an incredible fight. And again, well, I'm not going to say anything bad either way. So I do think you won the fight, but it was a situation where it looks like PJ was done, and he almost evened it out towards the end, and it was just an incredible fight. I just wonder what you thought of PJ. Do you like him? I mean, have you met him offline or?
Oh yeah. I got you know, I don't talk to him a lot, but every time we get in the same circle, we always have a chance to chat. A lot of laughs again, because when you take a look at that fight in particular, it's probably got one of the most hits for both of us. Yeah. As far as anything on YouTube, I haven't done the research, but I would imagine that fight has probably been clipped on more than any other one that I have.
It's a top one.
So we get a good chuckle out of it. We went and had beer. Actually, we were at the same bar that night having beer together. So it was actually awesome. It was a funny night. We laughed and joked about it. I hit him with a pretty good uppercut at the end of that fight, and you see if he's kind of leaned up against the glass. He's wiping the blood from his nose. So I think I got him pretty good there.
Oh, you won the fight. There's no doubt. But it was just like it looked like a point you were going to dominate, and then PJ came back, and it's what made it so entertaining. All right, Jeff is my partner.
Oh.
He's from St. Louis. He is the biggest Blues fans on the planet. I'm sure this is a pretty big deal for you, Jeff, to talk to a St. Louis Blue. Correct? Do you got anything for him? Hit him.
Yeah, just want to say again, thank you for doing this. Greatly appreciate it.
Sure.
But anyway, I mean this Blues Hawks series, it's been a roller coaster, and it comes down to a do or die Game 7. Now, from what I've seen, with the exception of the second periods in Game 5 and Game 6, and you could maybe make an argument for Game 1, the Blues have been the better team in this series, in my opinion. But there's been two things that I've seen that have been holding the Blues back from landing that knockout blow, and that is the first thing: Tarasenko's not getting enough ice time, and we've been going back and forth on this on Twitter. And I hate saying this without being straight up. Bouwmeester has just been absolutely terrible.
Ooh, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean that I was just wondering if we could get your complete opinion on that. What the Blues have to do to finally move past the first round.
Well, I think first off, for me, as an analyst of the game now, I go on 101 ESPN radio here. I do a little bit of work with Fox Sports in the playoffs. The local TV stations get me on for pregame and postgame, so I'm not afraid to give my opinion. But I always like to give the guy, right? Like when we talk about this and we scrutinize the game, it's nothing personal, right? Like Jay Bouwmeester is one of the nicest guys I've ever met, but at the end of the day, I really feel that that's probably one of his greatest downfalls, and he's so timid and he's so shy that when it's the regular season, you can get through the games a lot more. That pressure time where it's do or die, it's you or me. If I'm going to take a puck to the face if I have to, or I'm going to reach in and get that last puck, or I'm going to lay down in front of this, or I'm going to dive to poke that in the net and win the game. I don't feel he has that. And when you take a look at the St. Louis Blues, I think they're a better team in the playoffs when it's do or die because he doesn't have that personality. I think it's why you can truly look at his playoff stats and see that he's never been a playoff performer. And, again, he's a great skater. He's got a great outlet pass. He's got a good stick for the most part. But when it comes to somebody that wants it more than you do, he's the type of guy that says, okay, yeah, no big deal. I would imagine, I never played with him, but I imagine he's that guy on the team too. That's, you know what, you go ahead and have it. You go ahead and have it. And
I got you.
I really feel that your personality comes out in the tough moments like this. So I think the team's a better team with Edmondson playing with Pietrangelo and the rest of the defense to stay the same as they have. And that sucks because he's a $5 million guy, and it's probably not going to happen because of that and because you go through veteran guys. And, this is a guy that was probably, he was on the last Olympic team. So and he's, I don't know if he's going to be on the World Cup team. I would doubt it. But, at the end of the day, he's been a guy that's been touted for a long time since he was drafted second or third overall back in, I think it was 2003. And he played a lot of time with Florida, and they were bad. So it just kind of went with that. But then he did not perform in Calgary, and then he got traded to St. Louis, and he was pretty good, but he was playing with Alex Pietrangelo too, right? Playing with some good players. He's playing on a good team, but I just don't see it in the playoffs now. He's very timid, and at the end of the day, you got to go. If you want to win a cup, you got to go with who's going. I don't care if he's a rookie, if he's whatever it is. So, but that's my feeling on him, is that it's his personality that holds him back. He just doesn't have that do or die, gut wrench, I'm going to get this done type of personality. And for the Blues and the Blackhawks, I think the Blues are the better team. I'd agree with that. My personal feeling, my gut, I said at the beginning of the series, this is going to be a 7-game series. I look at it like this. Obviously, if the Blues win, they're going to implode the team and probably keep a handful of their nucleus, and everybody else is going to be gone, including the coaching staff, and I would probably imagine the majority of the management as well. If they win tonight, it will be that defining moment for the St. Louis Blues of having that ultimate battle of adversity against a Blackhawks team that's won multiple Stanley Cups over the last 6 years and is a reigning Stanley Cup champion, to where they came out of the gate, they got up on them 3-1. They fought 2 hard-fought battles and lost both this game to the Chicago Blackhawks. Let's not forget, guys, that's a really good hockey team with, in my opinion, probably the best all-around player and leader in the game with Jonathan Toews.
I agree.
If I was going to start a team in the National Hockey League and I had one player to pick from that's in the league today, it would be him.
Over Sidney Crosby? over Sidney Crosby?
Over Sidney Crosby.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I had to say that.
So at the end of the day, my prediction is the Blues aren't going to allow this to happen. The Blues are going to make this happen. Brian Elliott's going to stand on his head tomorrow night. Shattenkirk's going to have a big redemption game, and Tarasenko's hopefully going to get some ice time. The Blues are going to win 3-2, and after they win that game, anything's possible. I think the Stanley Cup could really be in reach if they manage to get through this and battle this final leg of adversity after getting up 3-1.
That's fantastic. I want to question you a little. I'm not a Blues fan, but I see this with a lot of teams. Is Bouwmeester, and I know you're saying he's not hungry enough, and I think it's legitimate criticism, but is Bouwmeester getting sort of the Bill Buckner treatment ahead of time just in case the Blues lose the series? Because, I mean, this Blues team had Chicago on the ropes in double overtime. We did not see goals from David Backes. We did not see goals from Tarasenko. Now, there is some argument whether he's had enough ice time. You know, the Blues have had an opportunity, and whatever Bouwmeester has done or has not done, is he truly responsible if they lose tonight?
He missed 10 or 12 games down the stretch, and the Blues played the best hockey of the season.
Oh,
so,
okay.
At the end of the day, you can't blame one player for winning or losing. They try and pin it on the goaltender. You're right, David Backes hasn't produced a lot of points, but I think Backes does provide some really good defensive plans and physical contact. Mm-hmm. You could look to a lot of guys. Tarasenko scored last night, so it's not like he hasn't played well. He's got, sure. I think if you take a look at the stat, I don't know what it is, but it's something ridiculous. He's got, for the amount of games he's played per goal, it's like right near the top of all time. So it's not like he's not going to play off performer. He has. It's a tough series. So yeah, I totally think there's a little bit too much drama brought around it for them losing 2 games in a row to the Blackhawks.
Okay.
At the end of the day, this is a 7-game series. It wasn't a 5-game series. You knew that the Blackhawks were going to come out and fight for it. They got a fairly lucky goal the other night in double overtime. And they came back last night and said, hey, listen, this is our home barn. We're not going to lose here. And they're Stanley Cup champions. They know how to win these games. They know how to be the best team in the league. And if the St. Louis Blues want to win, they're going to have to make it through them. So I would agree with you. I'm not placing the blame on Jay Bouwmeester. I'm just trying to say my opinion is that the Blues have a better chance to play if he's not in the lineup.
Okay.
Because
all right, that's
they have
fair
Edmonton.
enough.
If they had, some guy that was so bad that, if there was somebody else, but I watched Joel Edmondson play, and when he plays with Pietrangelo, he's a very, very good hockey player.
Mm-hmm. That leads me to my next question. It was an excellent answer, by the way. It kind of shut me up because I was trying to defend Bouwmeester, and I understand that he hasn't played well, but you throw a stat like that, they win when he's not there, then I think that pretty much answers the question. Why is it, and we've seen this in a lot of series, we're seeing it with Nashville and Anaheim right now, we've seen it with the St. Louis series, with the exception, and even with Dallas and Minnesota, why is it so hard to win that 4th game, especially in the first round, when teams see everything, all the momentum seems to be going a team's way, and it's just what is so hard about winning that 4th playoff game? It's sort of like what the Pittsburgh Penguins did the Rangers yesterday. They got them in sight, they cut the throats, they got out of town, which is, in my personal feeling, you can't play a lot of games early rounds. It's going to bite you in the ass come playoff time because I'd be perfectly honest, I think the season's too long, but that's another story altogether. Why is it so difficult for Nashville after they have the momentum, Dallas, St. Louis, just to put this series away, in your opinion?
I think the Western Conference and National Hockey League, and I say this anytime I get on any kind of program at all, the Western Conference and the National Hockey League is the best sports conference in the world.
Wow.
Without question.
Really?
Parity, the amount of battle that there is, the last 5 games of the season, the amount of teams that still have an opportunity to get into the playoffs, it's unbelievable. And you could take any of these 8 teams that are in the Western Conference, you might as well pick it out of a hat because whoever gets hot and whoever has the best goalie, which every single team has a great goalie in the playoffs right now, let alone the Western Conference. And I just think that it's a tough thing, especially when you haven't done it before.
I gotcha.
When you've not been to a Stanley Cup final, or if you've not been in a moment where you know what it feels like and what level of commitment that it takes to win that that
Mm-hmm.
fourth game, and to battle through that adversity, it's something that you just got to kind of find your way through. And that's, I think, where the challenge comes from a Nashville or a St. Louis, where a Pittsburgh and some of those other teams, the Chicago Blackhawks, LA Kings, in years past, they obviously didn't do much this year, but in years past, have been able to get done. So it's just the last one. It's the final nail in the coffin. The first round is always the hardest round, and the Blues got their hands tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm only rooting for the Blues because I'm just so sick of the Blackhawks, and I'd like to see Jeff happy for a change. It's funny you say that because a couple years ago I was introducing one of my other hosts to the game of hockey. I was teaching them, so we could do a podcast on YouTube, and eventually it grew into what we have now. And I remember Los Angeles was up 3-0 on New Jersey. And I said, well, this is going to be a sweep. It's this is pretty much over. And I told you, I bet you any amount of money that LA will not win that fourth game, and they'll probably have to take it to 5 or 6. Guarantee it. And he's like, why? I mean, they're flying high. They flew through the whole playoffs. I said, because New Jersey's got Martin Brodeur. He's been there before. And for some reason, teams that don't have, and I think this is what you're saying, Stanley Cup experience, they don't know the killing blow. They're like kittens that are learning to kill prey. That's what a new Stanley Cup. And then they get that, and you saw the difference between the Los Angeles team in 2012 versus the Los Angeles team in 2014, where they went right to the throat and they cut it real quick. And I think the gist of your answer is playoff or Stanley Cup experience, deep run playoff experience, is just completely priceless at the end of the day. Would that be correct?
It would be correct. And I'm going to start out just by I got to get going after I answer this.
No problem.
My kids are yelling at me. So
No.
I want to thank you guys for having me on. And,
Thank you.
as we move hopefully through the playoffs, I'd be more than willing to come on and hang out with you guys again. But, I have kind of a Homer situation here in St. Louis that I like to talk to people about, because I think Stanley Cup championship level experience is important, but you can't just bring a guy on that's not going to be a part of it and have him take you someplace. And I'll give you an example. 2 or 3 years ago, the St. Louis Blues brought in Jamie Langenbrunner, and he won a Stanley Cup a couple different times. And he was a great leader, and he was a captain on a team or two, and just an unbelievable hockey player and had a great NHL career. But he wasn't. He had kind of fallen off got a little bit too long in the tooth, and wasn't even good enough to play for the St. Louis Blues in the playoffs. I think he's even a little bit injured.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't as valuable as the Blues going out and giving up a great asset like TJ Oshie, and having the smarts and the understanding to know that the best thing for your team is to go get a guy like Troy Brouwer. That's
Love that.
Still in his 20s, won a Stanley Cup in 2010, is a hard-nosed player. He'll fight. He'll score you 25 goals a year. You can play him on a penalty kill in the last minute of the game. He'll block shots for you. He's a great teammate. You give him power play time. You can play on the first line. You can play on the third line. He can do just about anything for you, and he has that pedigree. He's been a champion before at the highest level in the National Hockey League, and he knows what it takes. And I really think the Blues did themselves a favor when they sacrificed a great fan favorite and team favorite and teammate and hockey player in general, and TJ Oshie, to know that they had to go out and find somebody like that. So that's the big difference in the playoffs for me, is finding that guy that's going to be able to come in and lead by example on the ice, not just by what he used to do when he was in his prime.
Reed, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for being the first National Hockey League player. I am honored that it was an enforcer, certainly from a great franchise like the St. Louis Blues. You have a good one, and enjoy the rest of the playoffs, sir.
Sure, and if anybody wants to listen to me, I'll throw a little Twitter handle pump out here, @ReedLow34. I got lots of good comments. I have fun with it. I'll even get in an argument with you. So
okay.
jump on there, and we'll have some fun.
All right, Reed, you take care of yourself.
Thank you.
See you guys. Thanks.
Well, that was a mind blower. And by the way, that's @ReedLow34. Did I have that right?
Yeah, I already got it.
All right, @ReedLow34. We got to see that in the chat. You can see what kind of guy Reed is. I absolutely love how he's working with ESPN, and I'm surprised. He's so blunt. He's so honest. You're not getting any BS from that guy whatsoever. How passionate is he for the game? He's like, yeah, I want it to grow. I want it to grow the right way. I've given up on it growing the right way, but I hope I'm wrong. And it was I'm pretty. We got a hockey player on, Jeff. Good job.
Yeah.
You've went from the dope Huffman. Then we'll
I
change
don't know
this.
about-
No.
I don't know about
Jeff, the God Huffman, for getting Reed Lowe on. That was awesome. I just wish we could have. I wish I could have touched base with him earlier, so I didn't have to lead off. And I
again,
feel great now.
It was a spur of the moment thing. I'm like,
Don't worry.
I could probably make this happen. So
You know what we'll do is we'll make an extra video. I'm so mad at myself for muffing that question. That's what I'm pissed off for. But I mean, he obviously knows what he's doing. There's no bullshit in his voice whatsoever. None, zero, zip. He's an unapologetic. He's an unapologetic enforcer. I didn't think I get an ounce of BS to further his career. And you know what? Listening to guys like Reed and John Scott may be the way the NHL wants to go, because maybe the NHL doesn't have a really great success level in promoting the game. They put it in Arizona.
They're not very good at it.
They can't promote their own game. They thought John Scott was toxic. And I also think it's interesting that he said that the NHL and the media sort of work together. I can't believe that's true, considering how hard the media is on the NHL. But it's something to look into, and I wish I hadn't muffed that question, because but he gave in there super professional. But we got one or two. I wanted
also
to
schedule games at 8:30 at night when games go until 1 a.m.
You know, the thing is, I wanted to goof around, I wanted to joke around, but I'm realizing if they call in, we got to do a straight radio interview. If they're on Skype, that's when we could screw around and act like a jerk. But Reed was awesome. He gave it. It was awesome. 718-395-7660. 718-395-7660. Shot from the point. You want to talk about this or any other playoff series? And I'll tell you, I think you could. I didn't want to say it in front of Reed, but I think you guys will listen tonight. I don't think you have a chance in the world.
That game's tomorrow.
Is it tonight? Tomorrow? I think he said tonight.
No, it's tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
Tomorrow.
Islanders are tonight. I don't think you guys have a chance in the world. I think you absolutely blew your opportunity.
I don't know. I don't know. You saw what they did in Game 5. They were down 3-1 going into the third period. After that,
their knees.
Let me finish.
Right.
Let me finish.
Okay, I'm sorry.
After that second period, they were down 3-1. Hawks were in total control.
Mm-hmm.
They came out. The Blues came out firing on all cylinders. The crowd got into it, and they fed off that. We haven't seen a Game 7 in St. Louis in quite a while, and that place is going to be rocking tomorrow night, and I think they're going to feed off that.
Okay.
And it's going to be another 1-goal game, like every other game except the game last night.
I think their knees are going to be banging together, and for the same reason that Reed Lowe said that Stanley Cup experience is important, where you have tons of it on the Blackhawks. They're not exactly an old hockey team. I think you guys are in huge trouble. I wish it wasn't the case. I knew they could win. I was sure they could win a Game 5 or a Game 6. I really thought they could. They went to double overtime in Game 5. There's no reason they shouldn't have. But I think this is just too much pressure with the. I mean, what was Reed talking about the whole time? Everything. It was not about what's going on in the ice. Everything was psychological, and I think this is just going to wear on this hockey team. And in fact, the only team in my lifetime. And I know everybody's going to say 94, that overcame an obstacle, and it's actually a little heavier than the Blues obstacle in some sense, was the New York Rangers. And I think that was once in a lifetime. That was the 1980 Olympics, 94, in some sense. You guys have to overcome so much psychologically that I worried. Patrick Lynn, what's on your mind?
Nothing. Just happy with the way that my Flyers played this year.
Hats off. I'm not happy with the fans, but I'm definitely happy with the Flyers.
Well, I'm not happy with the fans either. If
I'd be happy too if I hijacked a Game 5 like that.
That was awesome. I don't know if you heard me at the top of you're probably recording your own podcast, but do you believe me now about Neuwirth?
Yes, I do believe you now about Neuwirth, and I even mentioned that in my podcast.
Oh, okay, that's great.
He needs to be the number 1 goaltender next year.
Absolutely. I saw it last year. I mean, the guy can take a shelling, and for him, he also showed something like his back was against the wall, and he came up with a big victory, and then he did it again. This guy, I mean, I don't have a problem with them starting Mason, because if Steve Mason's not there, no playoffs. But clearly, after Game 2, Mason was not your man. I mean, it was beyond ridiculous. I think Haxtell, who's done a tremendous job with this team, I think made a possibly a rookie coach's mistake. What do you think, Pat?
I think he did too. I mean, it's a learning curve for this guy.
Sure.
I mean, I've been preaching, and I'm going to use this as my review show is above expectations. This team performed above expectations.
Absolutely.
This was supposed to be a rebuilding year. We weren't supposed to be in the playoffs. And, I'm happy with the way that they performed. There's a lot of things that they need to work on in the offseason, and one of them is their power play. Their power play was horrendous.
Yeah.
1 for 24 in that series.
Yeah, you're definitely going to – you may leave another offensive defenseman or at least a two-way defenseman that can work with Gostisbehere. I think that's you may have only one part away.
Well, he's sitting down in the minors, and his name is Ivan Provorov.
And then we might see him next year. I really only see good things for the Flyers in the future, Pat. I've said that all season. I was only really hard on them once. I like the character of the team. I love Rasko Gudas. I mean, in a lot of ways, he's your Jeff Bukaboom, but a lot more skilled. But I really think that the sky's the limit for the Philadelphia Flyers. Anything else, Patty?
Oh, not much. I disagree with you, Tommy. I think that the Blues are going to win Game 7.
Why?
I feel that it is time for somebody else to win the Stanley Cup.
Well,
as long as it's not anybody else.
Well, so you're
Pittsburgh.
Give me a reason. I mean, I don't want Chicago. I'm sick of seeing Chicago too.
But
I'll give you a reason.
Not won before win.
Give me a reason, Jeff.
I think that the Blues are a sentimental story.
We'll see. I'll
give you a reason why the Blues can win tomorrow night.
I have to do. Well, why? Give me a reason.
Like I said, it has to do with that psychological part.
Okay.
Compared to years past, with the exception of, and this isn't me bashing him, it's been a fact about Bouwmeester. With the exception of him, every other person in that lineup, they're showing the mental toughness, and I can just see it in the way they're playing that they want it.
Okay. All right.
Just saying.
All right.
Just
fair enough.
I agree with Jeff on that. I totally agree.
This year, the Blues, they're not shooting themselves in the face like they have in the past 3 years. They're continuing to fight until the very end. Like in that game last night. I mean, they were down by 2 goals, and Chicago ended up putting in the empty net. But, I mean, they were taking it to them. They were taking it to the Hawks in that third period, and that all got stopped when we got the penalty. And they ended up getting the nail in the coffin for that game.
They definitely they have shown me something. Look, if they lose, it won't be a collapse, but it'll be a bit of a choke because they did have opportunities to put the Blackhawks away. I really think they did. They had a lot of opportunities. They're missed opportunities. I think focusing on Bouwmeester is
missed opportunities. I wouldn't say choke job though.
Well, I mean, even the Bouwmeester thing, if that's 100% correct, which I don't know that it is, but I mean, look, Mr. Reed kind of set me straight on that pretty quickly. If that's the case, then you have coaching problems, and it's time to clear out the locker room. If they don't beat the Chicago Blackhawks,
calling it now.
What's that?
With Backus. It's kind of looking like he won't be back. Troy Brouwer will be your next captain.
Troy Brouwer is going to be our next. Well, we'll see.
I would love to see that.
We'll see. Thanks for the call, Patty. Appreciate it.
All right, see you guys later.
All right, thanks, Patty, for contributing. 718-395.
By the way, about Dallas blowing Minnesota out of the water. Yeah, they're only up 3-0 now. So.
Yeah. Oh, who's up? Minnesota or Dallas?
Dallas is up 3-0 on Minnesota.
Well, it's about time.
End of one.
They had all the momentum. There's another team that doesn't win shit, and they're letting them slip away from them. We're seeing that a lot. The one team in the East that has won shit in the last 7 years is not letting this slip away from them. I'm very impressed with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Shocked how good they were. Everything we said that was wrong with them for the past 5 years, they answered. They absolutely answered.
They answered that in the last couple months of the season. After Christmas, they just...
I tell you, they're blocking shots. They're all engaged. Sidney's focused. Did you see him do anything stupid this whole series? No. And when they hit a rough spot, they responded by blowing the Rangers out the next game. That's how you win it. That's how you do it, folks. You don't do it like the Capitals are doing it. You don't do it. You don't do it like that. You do it like how the Sharks were doing it. You do it how Dallas was doing it initially, or maybe the Predators. But and I also do believe that he's. I keep thinking about Reed sees the West. He says it's the best sports league in all of sports. I don't watch enough sports to know that's true or not. I only watch hockey. But that keeps. But it. He essentially said with that comment, it takes a lot of luck to win this thing. So you need guys that have been there before. I mean, well, that's what Reed made me look like a genius. I'm a hockey genius. Look at me. I know lots of stuff. I'm telling you, Pittsburgh's going to take Washington apart. It's not like the Caps aren't going to win a game, but you're going to see a beaten hockey team, a very much beaten hockey team. 718-399-5760. You want to talk hockey or anything else?
We also got.
I tell you what. You know what? Do maybe we'll go a little longer. And all right. Well, let's see. It's me, you. Fuck. We'll put them both on. We'll put Kenny because we could end it all at once and see what they thought. We'll put Kenny and Frenchie on and see how that goes. And
Actually works out because I was gonna lead into the Florida Islanders game.
Florida, yeah. So we'll go with Kenny. Frenchie, you there?
Yeah.
All right. What we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the Islanders game, and we're gonna hit Kenny with that. Hopefully he's standing by. I thought I saw him in the chat. Big Tommy, where are you? Oh, all right. Well, I guess he's not there. Maybe I'll call in.
It was a great interview. I wanted it to be eternal.
Was it eternal? Was it
Oh
eternal?
yeah, Reed Lowe. He was honest, generous in his comments.
He was.
It was great.
Yeah, he really was. It's nice to have I'm glad we had an enforcer first. I knew we were getting an NHLer one day. It was no doubt in my mind, but I wanted an enforcer first, and it was nice to have somebody that was so passionate. And I almost got the feeling that he thought he was going to get resistance from me. He's made every one of my arguments. The only difference is he's making it from a guy who's been there, And I do feel like it's, I've made a lot of military comparisons. When I went to Iraq, I didn't think about getting blown up, which was, not an outside. It wasn't impossible. Even being on the fob, it wasn't out of the question. These guys don't think about that stuff. They go forward. The only question I didn't ask him, and I don't think he would have said anything, was and I had it in my head and I lost it too. What does he think of the lawsuit and Mike Peluso? And I wonder. I bet I already know the answer to it.
But when you listen back to it, everything is great.
Yeah, I muffed the question. Yeah. I'm still mad at him.
No. Everything is fine.
He knew what I was saying, but I don't want anybody to know what I'm saying. Know what I'm saying? I hate that. I absolutely hate that. So what's our review? We'll do the Frenchie Ben. It's the Frenchie Ben review show.
Of course, this is the best shot from the point live ever.
Ever. Holy
Thanks
Christmas.
to Jeff the Huffman, the God.
He didn't blow it after all, did he?
And you did an awesome job, Tommy, with the questions, and he was flowing.
Clutch.
Well, it wasn't. My questions weren't so sharp because I didn't know if this guy was coming on or not, and I literally found out at 2 hours that this is going to happen, and I should have questioned Jeff a little more directly. Next time, get on the phone with me. No more chat. Something like this.
I would have loved to ask him some questions because in my research, I saw that he played with Marc Bergevin.
Oh, jeez, that would have been good.
Yeah, Bergevin was a blue.
Well, this is where Jeff's the dope Huffman. I never found out how long he was going to be on, when he was calling in, or anything like that. I didn't know any of that, so I couldn't cycle everybody in.
It happened.
Well, we did. We did make it happen. So you're Jeff the demigod Huffman. How about that?
There we go.
There we go. Because you're not quite a demigod. There you go. Jeff the demigod Huffman.
I would have loved to know if he has some hockey superstitions because lots of players does.
Yeah, I bet.
Have superstition. I guarantee you, because I have superstitions when I watch.
Yeah, do you? I used to. I don't do that anymore.
I do.
I try not to do that.
I honest to God do.
What do you do?
Oh, a whole number of things like getting a glass of water in between periods, chugging a bunch of water when they start to pick up their play.
Okay.
Do you really?
I do. I listen to certain music.
Oh my God! You know that's bullshit, right?
What?
Not Nickelback.
It's real, Tommy.
No, it's not real. You know what I used to do because I have 7,000 hockey jerseys. When the Night Rangers were playing, which by the way, I stopped doing. I stopped doing this. About 2 years ago. I'll be honest with you. If I touched a jersey that was not a Ranger jersey, that means they would lose. So, and I would do this. I would take the jerseys and put them in places where, like, I wouldn't throw them in my hamper or anything, just in case I had to take the laundry out and I'd touch a Red Wings jersey or I would touch a Canadiens jersey. It was completely fucking ridiculous. I'm ashamed of myself. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
I sit in the same position downstairs the whole game when the game's on.
I was 22 years old. You sit in the same position. That doesn't help. I was 22
Yes,
years old.
It does.
I was taking out my laundry, and I picked up a Yager jersey when he was on Pittsburgh, and I literally dropped it and shrieked. I went, ah! And I'm like, what's the matter with me? Right in front of my girlfriend.
See, I wouldn't drop it, but I'd be thinking about it. It would start eating. It starts eating away at me.
Yeah. Oh, God. You guys,
when I was going to the Molson Center at the time, me and my friend, we had the same path that we follow. We sat at the same bench before entering the place, going to the bathroom at the same time.
See, I can't do this. As a person that's an atheist, or I'm not an atheist, I'm non-religious, I feel like that's giving in. I feel like I'm not living up to my principles when I do stuff like that. I feel ill, you know? Now, like, there's a Detroit Red Wings jersey. Yesterday, I just picked the fucking thing and threw it and think. There's one thing I won't wear a jersey that's not a Ranger jersey the night of. Not even like one of my old jerseys, like from my pickup hockey leagues. I won't wear the jersey. That's the only thing I still won't do. But good. Let that. I'll tell you something. I bet you enjoy the game a lot better if you stop doing stupid stuff like that, Jeff.
Nah, it takes the fun out of it.
It probably does.
It takes out the potential heart attack I might have.
Well, you don't want to have. I don't know. What do I know?
That's why I work out all the time, though. So I mean, my body can deal with
you need
it.
a psychiatrist. You don't need a workout.
I think.
You need a psychiatrist and Prozac. That's what you need.
Bring Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil. Well, Jeff, this OCD behavior you are exhibiting is making you look foolish. How do you expect to get through school? Yeah, and I'm glad you're on the show because I can exploit your disability. Oh, God. I'm fucking dying. All right. Big thanks to Reed Lowe.
Yes.
I wish I hadn't blown that. I'm going to be mad at myself the rest of the day. I'm going to kill this right now because we have pretty much all the big fans in here. About my family issue and probably a bad choice of words at the time. When I made my video and I shut down the channel, I thought I was going to get a nightmare call because I really can't go into what my issue is because I just don't want my family to get abused just in case there's some kind of troll out there. But I thought it was an issue where I would have to fly back to the United States and go to a funeral. So I certainly didn't want to joke around about hockey under those circumstances. That particular, because I used the word, what was the word I used? I used resolve a crisis. Well, this is not me flying to America and telling my crazy Uncle Bob to stop beating up his wife. It's nothing like that. It's not any trailer park thing. It's somebody's life is in the hands of God, for lack of a better word, or for just expedience. And I think I sort of misled unintentionally. That's some of the fans and why I shut down the channel. That situation, while it didn't happen, I'll be perfectly honest with you, things are looking very, very grim. There is improvements, and there is situations where I'm probably going to get that airplane ticket, and it's pretty much going to be like that until one of two things happens. I am absolutely humbled and moved by all the comments and personal condolences that everyone's given me and support. The only thing I can tell you, and I know you guys will wait no matter what, I have a really great super team. I got really supportive people in my life, not to mention my immediate family and my wife. There is a possibility that I will just be gone, maybe not have a time to make a video. And I'm going to apologize for that ahead of time. If you don't see a creative event pretty much an hour before our scheduled show times, our live show times, I think you guys can more than likely figure out what happened. I will talk about it in details when I'm ready to. It's not so much that I'm afraid to talk about my feelings. I think you all know that that's not the situation. It's that I don't want trolls to attack my family. And one day we'll deal with it. So I couldn't be more humbled and appreciative of all these wonderful comments, but just give me time and let me deal with this situation. And hopefully I can talk about it like, holy shit, that was close. That's pretty much all I can give you at this particular point. There's no crisis to resolve. This is a very binary situation. It's very frightening. It's really fucking up people I love. And it's very difficult for me to watch it from afar and feel so helpless. You can't believe I just didn't want to lead you guys the wrong way and make you think that I quit or something. I want to keep you in touch. When I'm ready to talk about it, I will be. And thank you from the phone messages, from the emails, to the comments, and to you guys who are very, very supportive. I'm not withdrawing from the chat because I'm being weak or I'm just nasty. I'm withdrawing from the chat because I've done this before and I know how to manage my emotions in this situation. So I apologize to you guys ahead of time, but thank you so much for the support. I think we're gonna end it. I hope you guys got the whole case. If you don't see something, then that will be the case. But hopefully that won't be the case, and I can talk, maybe even joke about it. But we're really in a bad spot. Really been in a bad spot right now. I'm not exaggerating. I already did that. If you want to get to me, Tommy at Tommy C SFTP, at Tommy C SFTP on Twitter. Shot for the point, one word on Skype. You can leave a message anytime, 718-395-7660. That's the same number, or the same place, and you can leave a message anytime. Shot for the Point live on Twitch, and Shot for the Point Hockey on Google Plus and Facebook. We post our shows there. Like this show, we'll be cutting the Reed Lowe interview up, and I hope you like, I hope you sub, I hope you share, I hope you really dug what we're doing today. If you would check out the demigod over there on the left side, your left, my right, Jeff the Huffman, he's on Grand Slam 87. That's www.youtube.com, Grand Slam 87, and he streams, he does the dab, or the anti-dab.
No.
The anti-dab.
No.
The anti-dab. And posts some really interesting videos, video games, and Jeff's baseball knowledge is, by Jeff's standards, which my father said he was blown away by Dead on Dave's standard. Jeff is the best baseball guy in his age bracket, maybe even better than Dave. I think Dave said that. And my father is blown away, who is the best baseball man I ever met in my life, is blown away by Dead on Dave. So if you want baseball, and a lot of other sports too, because of the Blues, not in other St. Louis sports, I would check out Grand Slam 87. Make sure you give it a sub if you haven't done it already. Frenchie Ben, what do you got going on? You're just mine.
Follow me on my channel. I'm buying a TV station, and I'm taking off.
You're mine. You're not branching out. You're my property. You're my Frenchie.
That's right.
Ben. Yes. Get over here, you
keep
monkey.
You keep me in a cage,
yes.
Like in a zoo.
Yeah, like in a zoo. And if you're not good, no bananas. No bananas.
You were kind enough to give him a nice pair of glasses, though.
Yes. Well, because he kept on running to the walls and shit. You know.
I only had water for a week, people.
Yes.
Help me.
Frenchie Ben, the great Frenchie Ben. Shout out to Matt Kazar, who's sick because he's been drunk all the time. Shout out to Jake Link, who
do that to you.
Is a big pain in the fucking ass. Congratulations. You missed the show when we had a hockey player on. And who's the other? Yeah, big dummy. And Dead on Dave, who's doing just beautifully. Wonderful. And, of course, Reed Lowe, who was nice enough to come on. You just asked him, and he was like, I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just asked him. He's like, sure. So.
Wow. Maybe we should do that shit more often.
He's a generous man, like every enforcer in the NHL.
Just want to. Do you want to tell that personal thing that he did for you, Jeff, or is that all right? Or no? We want to move on.
Yeah, we'll hold off on that. For
Okay,
a little bit.
fine. All I can say is, trust me. This guy, I knew a little bit about going before him, before he was on, and
Give me some time to think about that.
Sure. We'll talk about this some other time. No, believe me, I understand now more than I normally would. But he's first-rate human being as well. Real community guy. Those Canadian kids, they look out for their community. I think that's the best way to put it. All right, thank you, everybody, from the entire Shot from the Point team, Frenchie Ben, Jeff the Huffman, and all the other jerks. See you next week, bitches.